It was a hot, stifling night in the countryside of Vietnam in 1972, when a young man named Min, a soldier freshly enlisted in the war, first heard the whispers of the dead. He had been assigned to a remote outpost near the dense jungles where the sounds of battle rarely reached, but the smell of death always lingered. Min wasn't sure why he had been sent to guard this particular stretch of land, far away from the major skirmishes. His mission was simple: patrol and keep watch over a supply route. But as the days turned into weeks, the quiet isolation began to wear on him. And it wasn't just the heat or the mosquitoes that kept him up at night. There was something else, something he couldn't explain. Late one evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows across the jungle, Min noticed a figure standing near the edge of the woods. It was a man, dressed in the tattered remains of military fatigues. His hair was wild and matted with dirt, his eyes hollow and glassy, and his posture stiff, as though frozen in place. Min called out, but the figure didn't move. It wasn't until the man turned slightly, his face coming into the dim light, that Min felt the chill crawl down his spine. The man's skin was pale, almost translucent, and his lips were cracked, as if he had not spoken in years. "Who are you?" Min asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The figure didn't respond. Instead, he raised his hand, pointing deep into the jungle. Min's heart began to race. It wasn't just a soldier standing there. It was something else, something that felt wrong, unnatural. Then, the man spoke. His voice was soft, almost drowned by the sound of the wind, but Min could hear it clearly. "I'm lost. Help me, please." Min felt a sudden compulsion to approach, but before he could take a step, the figure dissolved into the night, like mist in the wind. There was nothing left but the faint rustle of leaves. That night, Min couldn't sleep. The image of the lost soldier haunted him, and the words, "Help me, please," echoed in his mind. He didn't know what he had seen, whether it was a ghost or just a trick of his tired mind. The next day, Min tried to shake it off, convincing himself that it was just a hallucination. But as the days wore on, the appearances continued. Sometimes in the distance, sometimes close by, he would catch glimpses of that same soldier, always pointing into the jungle. And each time, the same plea: "Help me." Curiosity turned to fear, but it wasn't until Min spoke to his comrades that he learned of the ghost's origins. His older companion, Nguyen, said, "That's the spirit of a soldier who was left behind during the war. He fought in the Southern Army, but when the Americans pulled out, he was stranded. His comrades abandoned him, and he died alone in the jungle." Min's stomach churned. Nguyen told him how the soldier's soul had been wandering, unable to rest, calling for help. Year after year, trapped in a loop of endless wandering. And it was said that if you answered his call, if you followed his finger into the depths of the jungle, you would never return. That night, Min decided he would face the ghost. He needed to know the truth. Armed with only a flashlight and his rifle, he ventured out into the dense jungle, following the haunting figure's direction, guided by the whispers he had heard so many times. As Min trekked deeper into the jungle, the air grew thick with humidity, and the trees seemed to close in around him. The light from his flashlight flickered as if protesting against the darkness. Suddenly, he heard the faint rustle of footsteps behind him. His heart raced. He spun around, but there was nothing. Only the cold, dark eyes of the jungle staring back at him. He continued walking, the whispers growing louder. The soldier's voice was there again, calling for help. "Help me, please." Min pressed on, determined to find the source. As he moved deeper, he stumbled upon a clearing. There in the center lay the remains of a camp, a forgotten battleground from the war. The remnants of old rusted military gear littered the ground. But what caught Min's eye was a pile of bones, scattered and disturbed, as if someone had tried to bury them, but never finished. And then, there he was, the soldier. This time Min could see him. His face was gaunt, his body emaciated from starvation. His eyes were wide open, lifeless, but full of torment. The soldier was standing over the bones, pointing down, his finger trembling. Min's body froze as the ghost turned slowly to face him, the air growing unbearably cold. The soldier opened his mouth, but instead of words, a scream of agony echoed through the jungle. The ground shook, and Min felt an invisible force press against him, as if the very jungle was alive with sorrow. The ghost whispered one last time, "Help me, help me." Suddenly, the earth beneath Min's feet gave way. He fell into a pit, deep and dark.